What's up, guys? So today we're going to be reviewing a couple different TV personalities and their reactions with wild reptiles. Now, I'm no expert and I'm not a top of the line mind, but I do know enough to where I know BS when I see it come across my TV. I myself, I work with a lot of rattlesnakes and some pit vipers. I work a little bit with cobras, but I do a lot of herping, so I know the realism aspect, and that's what I'm going to be looking for and kind of making fun of today. So let's just see kind of how crazy everyone gets when TV is involved. If you want to support the channel, I do have a couple different methods. I've got a Patreon where you can become a patron and help support the channel. Or if that's not your game, I've got Venom Life gear where you can use the code MAX10 for 10% off your order. Not only does it help the channel, but it helps support the Asclepius Snakebite Foundation and help raise funds to buy anti-venom for those who need it in impoverished countries in Africa and Asia. And then finally, we have Reptiles, who just came out with a bunch of new products, and I got them all, and I'm going to be doing a review on those here pretty soon. But in the meantime, if you use the code MAXESCHIP, you get 10% off your order at reptileschip.com. So the first clip we're going to watch is by a guy from the name of Austin Stevens, 7 Deadly Strikes. In a 45-minute episode, this guy gets bit by 2 venomous snakes. So we're going to watch those clips, and then we're going to watch another completely absurd clip of something that he does. In addition, he rates the snakes, and he does a really bad job of rating the snakes.
None more so than the desert sidewinding adder. Using a unique side-to-side motion, it buries itself into the ground. Its distinctive scales blending perfectly with the hot sand.
Pretty cool snake, really talented. Let's see how he reacts to it.
And the sand blows around it, and it makes a disturbance. Just the slightest indentation here. The wind has been very strong. All tracks have been moved away, but there's the slightest indentation. I think there's a chance that there is a snake under here. I'm going to go very deep because I'm using my bare hands. Take a chance. There we are. There we are. I've got one. There we go. That's what I want.
So we're going to walk in the middle of the desert, middle of nowhere. There's a random indentation in the sand there. I'm just going to put my hands where a venomous snake might be. I guarantee you that snake was planted there.
Oh, and he's angry with me. I would love to get a strike. Oh.
The Sidewinder immediately shows its attitude. It may be small, but it's still an adder, which makes it a very fast-striking snake.
That looks like a zoom lens to me. I'm not quite sure if that is a macro lens or not. So he looks way too close for that to be in focus shot.
To get a good shot, I've got to get real close.
There we go.
Yeah, that looks way too close. That would have to be a macro lens.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. I want him to strike right into the lens, really close, and I'm going to just touch him. I'm going for one more shot. I must feel that I've got this. Okay, take it.
Got him.
Got me. Okay. Let's see. Just got me with one fang. Right there.
Luckily, it's just a scratch. It's grazed my skin with the edge of one fang.
I'm convinced he was striking, defending himself quickly, just a quick strike, just a quick knock, and I pulled away pretty quickly.
That's not a good technique to use. Oh, if you pull away, then it only scratches you, so you won't get envenomated.
I might have a little bit of a swelling there during the day, but I don't think I have to worry too much. Alright, so it's entirely my fault.
It definitely is his fault.
Teased up a little bit. Look at that, boy, you got me. You can be happy now. And I think after that I can release him. I think I got my shot. I think I got my striking shot.
He doesn't want to get bit again.
I'll still be alive tomorrow to do it again.
I'm giving the sidewinding at a 7 out of 10 for speed. It's a very fast snake for its size.
Only a 7 out of 10. I give Austin a 2. Alright, so this next snake that we're going to look at is a Naja annulifera, a snouted cobra. Now this is a snake, I might be wrong on this, but Samir, the anti-venom that's the main anti-venom for a lot of cobras, isn't as effective with the snouted cobra. Like I said, I could be wrong, but I believe that's true with the annulifera. But we're going to watch how this gentleman deals with snakes.
There's a real adult size snouted cobra. Are you a tame one, a calm one, hey? Oh yes. Well, that's a beautiful hoot. Now that's more like an adult size. He's probably close to 2 meters. Hey, behave yourself. Here we go. Look at that. He wants to move away, but he's still watching me.
Alright, so a fact about cobras. Cobras, the way their ribs and their bones spread out when they hood up, they can only strike downward. They can't strike upward too much. So when you see people doing the kissing cobras or the touching them on top of their heads, a lot of that's illegal. A lot of what you see of that is actually out of India, and it's illegal to mess with cobras there. But anyway, they go from above. You see him putting his hands in the cobra's face. That's a great way to get bit. So let's see how Austin Stevens shows us how to handle a cobra wrong.
But see how he's not bad-tempered like the little one? Come look at me. I'll slowly move around and you can get a good look at his hood. Look at that hood. Look at that hood. Isn't he beautiful? It's all a warning. If this snake was now faced by a mongoose, he'd probably be in trouble. Because a mongoose is able to wait for that strike to come lower. Ah, I've been bitten, guys. I've been bitten. For sake, guys. Come here quickly. Quickly go into the car. I want the crepe bandage.
It's more than a warning. He'll mess you up.
Open it. Yeah. Real tight. Pull it tight. Somebody watching that cobra? Oh God, they mustn't be venom in the vein.
Anti-venom was on hand. Immediately I was alerted to the fact that a vein had been penetrated. That is your most frightening scenario, because if venom entered directly into a vein, I could be dead within 10 minutes. However, I saw that it was a cut. It wasn't an actual injection. The fang had cut my
There he
finger.
goes again.
And having sliced the vein. So in that way, the vein actually helped to flush out any venom that might have been lying around. It pumped it out. And then applying suction later with a little sucking machine.
So Dr. Sean Bush, he wrote an article called "Snake Bite Kits Don't Suck Out the Venom. They Just Suck." By technicality, they pull out 1/10,000th of the venom. Not only is it not recommended to use them, but is actually advised against, because any sort of tissue damage, any sort of things like that, you could isolate it in the case of pit vipers. Now, this one's a cobra, so they have more neurotoxins, but all the cut and suck it out, that's all BS. And don't say, oh yeah, just pull away, and if it cuts you, you're good.
Never again. This is it. I'm getting too old for this.
Never again. In this 45-minute episode, never again.
Nevertheless, just 2 short hours later, I was back out in the field.
Alright, yeah, sure. No, with neurotoxins, the onset and the effects can actually show up a lot later. Here in North America, if you're bit by a coral snake, for whatever reason, most people who are bitten are messing with that coral snake, but the effects can take up to 6 hours before all of a sudden you feel like you can't breathe. So they monitor you for a length of time with neurotoxins. This guy's saying 2 hours later. I'm calling BS. Last one we're going to look at from Austin Stevens. He is going to show us how to properly capture a gaboon viper.
There we go. There's a snake. There she is. She's going to get away.
Let's watch that again.
She's going to get away.
His head's back, but in the next shot, the side shot, because somebody's in the water filming, obviously, his head's forward. Now, I just wonder if the gaboon viper was in there for both swings. Jumps in a river, grabs a gaboon viper.
The chances of me actually finding a gaboon were slight. That's why I just had to go for it. I got it. Look at her, she's not even attacking me, she's just getting away if she can. They're so beautiful, they're sometimes called butterfly adder.
So if you've ever worked with a wild bull snake versus a captive bred bull snake, you know their temperaments are extremely different. This snake is really tame, really calm. Gaboon vipers, a wild one, would be thrashing about, just pissed off at him. So this is definitely a captive kept snake. This snake has been around people before.
She can strike at about 7 meters per second. Enormous, shoot the fangs out, pierce, pull back. And they have a very powerful cytotoxic, neurotoxic venom combination, double trouble. It's like getting bitten by a puff adder and a cobra at the same time. She seems
You would
to be
know.
okay. I just want to bring her closer to the camera so you can have a real good look. See the nose horns? See the nose horns she's got? Look at that. Right on the tip of her nose. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Isn't it
That's a
fantastic?
pet.
Flickering that, look
Or
at that, flickering
a
her tongue,
research
smelling. What's
snake.
going on here? I've never been picked up by a human being before.
Oh yeah, that
Isn't she
snake has.
fantastic? Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Steve Irwin taking off in a helicopter to look for rattlesnakes, which is a very ineffective way to look for rattlesnakes in Arizona. Not only is this helicopter booking it, they're pretty up high, and snakes are hard to see. But here we go with Steve Irwin.
This is reptile country, and Steve senses there's gotta be a rattler.
Snake trap! Here's another one!
Snake tracks.
We've gotta move fast.
He found
Give the
snake
snake
tracks
enough
from
time
a
and he'll be
helicopter.
gone. Hit-
That'll be Western Diamondback!
Based off the tracks, he knows what kind of snake it is. He knows that they're fresh, and he spotted them from a helicopter. A little bit sensationalistic. So we don't have to watch him handling them. Obviously, Steve has handled way more animals than I ever will, and he definitely has the expertise. But finding tracks from a helicopter is just not realistic, and it's a Western Diamondback, so there's enough of those in Arizona where you don't have to go by air to find them.
Oh, listen to that. Woohoo! I good. Here he is in here. It's a speckled.
Gonna stop you right there, Steve. So, in finding speckled rattlesnakes, one of the most frustrating parts is that they're so good at their camouflage that they don't use their rattle at all. You heard that nice loud buzz. The snake is under a rock. That's not really realistic. I'm gonna guess that rattle was added in post-production. So the first speckled rattlesnake I ever found, I was walking on a slope like this. Some rocks trickled down the mountain, and I heard tsk, and I turned around and there was a speckled rattlesnake crossing by. I had walked right past it, and that's all I heard. So that buzz, that's not really indicative. They don't rattle like Western Diamondbacks.
It's a speckled. Now, these things are notoriously aggressive. I just gotta see if I can... Come on! Woo!
So this looks to be a little bit of a blue speckled rattlesnake. Blues are typically found around South Mountain and on a couple different Indian reservations. So Steve is in the Mohawk Mountains, which might have some. I'm gonna guess that this was a snake that was placed there.
Gonna move them all, but I tell you what, they strike and they strike hard. They're one of the hardest hitting of the rattlers. Speckled. Hey, the thing with the speckles is, once you get onto them, you'll get into a colony. There'll be heaps of them. I'll bet you this whole place is crawling with them.
Also, a very frustrating thing about finding speckled rattlesnakes is you're dealing with very large rocks. So while there might be a lot there, if they don't have a reason to come out, then they won't be out. So they can stay hidden under these large rocks and not have to surface, not have to rattle. So while there might be a lot there, you're not going to find them very quickly. But Steve does.
It's like, when they're on, they're on. It just clicks.
Click.
Here we go, here we go, here we go.
That snake might have rattled.
Listen to this. Come on, mate. Oh, you little devil. When they're coiled up in these cracks, they're hard to get out. Come on. Well, this one's even a little
That's
bit
true.
darker. Come on.
I've been with somebody who's been bit when the snake was curled up in one of those crevices.
Hey, settle down, settle down.
See, now that snake's a
see this
lot
one's
darker. So I guess it's possible to find them that close together and that's similar in color, but those snakes don't match in the least. And typically on the same range, you're gonna find snakes that are very similar in color. There's some variants, but not like that.
Grab those tongs right quick.
The final test for Dalton is one of the most dangerous parts of hunting a diamondback. Proper use of the tongs to capture and box the snake.
Just to show.
I remember that guy. That guy was a wealth of misinformation when I went to interview different people at the Rattlesnake Roundup. He doesn't think that Texas has a rat expansion problem. He says that the venom at the roundup is used in crow fab, and he thinks that snakes have way more babies than they actually do. This dude shouldn't be training anybody as far as on venomous snakes, as far as I'm concerned.
Just to show that you're not abusing the snake, but you got a tight enough grip on them to have control.
It's like a 5-year-old's grip.
So it's picking them up with tongs, don't injure them in any way.
So you definitely can injure a snake with snake tongs. So while our finger has a pretty thick bone in there, rattlesnake ribs are actually pretty thin. So you can definitely hurt a snake picking it up with tongs, especially if you do it wrong. If you get the snake too near the neck, it can thrash and actually break its own neck. So you can theoretically kill a snake with tongs. They are definitely being extra gentle with the tongs just because the camera is rolling. Normally they are not nice at all when it comes to these. They grab them, squeeze them. They have no regard for the rattlesnake's life.
The results could be deadly.
If you grab him too far back here, he's long enough that he can still come up the back
Swing
side
over and strike
up on your hands.
So this rattlesnake is about 4 foot. He's using about 36-inch tongs. That snake would have to be 6 foot in order for it to come up and try and tag his hands again. And the snake's definitely not that long. You're probably going to have more concern with it turning around and tagging your foot. But yeah, the first third of the body, you want to support the snake, support its weight, so it doesn't thrash and it stays more calm. That's true, but not because it can tag your hand. I've grabbed snakes under the house and I ended up on about 2/3 of the way down their body, and I'm crawling backwards out of the house. Well, the snake still couldn't tag my hand. You definitely do want to get towards the first third to the first half of the body, though. Secondly, the fact that this is on Animal Planet or Discovery, and they're going out and they're pillaging a natural animal, a natural predator out in their habitat, I think it makes Steve Irwin sick to know that this is where the networks went. I mean, there's no education aspect at all. This is all sensationalism and all just draw to get people's attention. And the fact that they're killing these snakes in mass, it's just not right. And it's Animal Planet. It should be for the advocation of wildlife. But I don't want to end on a bad note, so we're going to watch this newscaster get owned by a lizard. It's really bad quality, so I'm not exactly sure what kind of lizard, but let's watch.
5 feet. Texas rat snakes are going to be one of the largest snakes that you find in the Metroplex area. Get this thing off me, man. Get this thing off me, man. God dang.
He wanted to hit that lizard so freaking bad, but he was like, I'm on TV, I can't touch it. That's great. That's so over the top. I love different things like that. Also, that's not a Texas rat snake anymore. It's a Western rat snake. It got reclassified, and I blame Oklahoma for that. But guys, thanks so much for watching. That's all I've got for you today. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you know when I upload another video. And comment below if there's a video that you've seen that's so outrageous or over the top that it's just completely mind-blowing. So let me know what that might be. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.